this is so fun.
It's also my first time, so I'm like, what?
The last time we spoke was like when I gave you my old dress, and we didn't even see each other at that time.
In May last year.
Was it May? I can't even
Yeah.
remember. Yeah.
That was the last time I was there. Yeah.
Do you miss Vienna?
Yeah. It's crazy how, so the crazy thing about it is you're there and you're like, this sucks. I can't, like, why am I going down to Hitzing the 20,000th time in my life? You know, like this exact same fucking bus route and the same metro station and everything's the fucking same, and you can't wait to change it up. But then you're somewhere else and these exact things are like the things you miss about it. And you just want to go back and you just want to have some sort of familiarity. That's, and certainty. I think it's a lot about certainty, just things that you know, things that your body knows, things that your nervous system knows, or something like that. I daydream a lot about it. And I just hope I can come back soon.
So you want to come back?
Yeah, I definitely want to come visit for a month or so in hopefully August, but like obviously I'm not sure about the flights and all of this, but yeah, that's my big goal right now.
Right. Okay. So just to give some clarity, Sarah, you're in Sydney, right?
Yes, I am.
So she's in Australia. We met in Vienna like what, 5 years ago now?
I don't even know. Fuck. 2015. No. Yes?
Yeah. So we studied together for a little bit. I mean, then I decided to leave to Paris to finish my studies there. But yeah, that's how we met. And you made me couscous once, and that was really lovely. And we did yoga together.
I can still remember the couscous thing, and you were like, "Oh my god, I admire you so much for cooking." And this was actually just cutting fucking vegetables and then putting it together with this. And you were like totally in awe. I'm like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah, because like you had your vegetables in a basket, and it was like, wow. And then you moved to Australia. When was that now? Like a year ago? More?
Yeah. I wouldn't even consider myself moving here. It's kind of like gradually. With time, you notice, oh, I'm just really not home and I don't know when I'll be home. And then you're like, wait, that must mean I moved here. It wasn't like a conscious decision. I think that's about it. I think that's like, I know a lot of people like, yeah, I'm going to move this and there. And I came here wanting to re-experience things that I experienced on my semester abroad. And then things just like changed and I met this beautiful guy and then I just stayed here and it like just got month for month and then, you know, you're like, oh fuck, we're really doing this. And then you spend lots of money on visa shit and you go for a lot of shit and then you're still here and you're like, great. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
And you guys are living together, right?
Yeah, he's literally a meter away.
Hi.
Because you have him, he's like putting his earplugs in so he doesn't disturb us and he's like just eating. We literally have like a tiny space here. It's like 20 square meters or something. So we spent the last 5 months for sure, like literally in here every day, just as to.
Yeah, what's that been like, especially during confinement now?
So the thing is, because it's been quite tough mentally the whole of last year. I didn't have like the emotional capacity, or I just didn't get up all the willpower to like go out and try to make friends. And I just also find it so much harder to make friends in adult life when you're not surrounded by just unique people. I was always taking it for granted to have a lot of friends, and like it's the first time in my life where I just really struggle making connections. So basically before COVID happened, we were already kind of just us two all the time. So it's not that much of a difference because like, yes, now I really miss that we can't go out and camp, or we can't even see like his friends. But so it's not that big of a difference. We're also both quite nice people like towards each other. So I think it's lots of credit on his side, and I'm just communicating a lot about how I feel and why I'm pissed off and why I'm irritated and why I need this and why I need that. But that's how it's been going. What about you? It's so fun.
I think the last time we saw each other, I was still dating Jan, probably. So that's not happening anymore. We've been broken up since Christmas, I think. Yeah, since like around Christmas. He's in Germany right now. He's stuck there because he flew before COVID-19, and so now he's having a hard time coming back, which I don't mind. I actually I appreciate that he's not here right now because I just moved to a new place. Yeah, so like moving during a pandemic, check. This is like the 4th time in 2 years that I've moved to a new place.
Yeah, I kind of feel like you're constantly somewhere else, because last time I checked in, weren't you guys living together, like in a new flat?
Yeah, Jan and I, we got this opportunity to move into a new place together, and we were like, should we do this? But we were also not happy anymore together, so we were like, this is a great opportunity to patch things up. So we tried that for a little bit. It obviously didn't work out. Jan and I had been dating since I was 19, so now as a 23-year-old, I'm like, oh, so that's what it feels like to be a young person. Now I moved into this place. I'm living with 2 really, really lovely people, and I'm doing online like COVID dating. So like I talk to people on the phone for hours. That's been really, really fun to just not be able to have that intimacy with someone, but to just connect via phone or via Zoom. Yeah, it's been a lot of that.
So that's still like a dating platform, or by an app, or like how do you find the guys?
Oh yeah, dating, but yeah. It's been really, really fun. This one guy, we were talking, and then he wanted to send me a photo.
That never happens.
He then just started calling me like on WhatsApp, like a video call. I'm like, you don't what? I was so confused because I wasn't prepared at all. But then we had a really lovely call, and I was like, okay, this was fun. And so yeah, it's just been a lot of spending time with myself, which is something I've never done before. So
It's tough sometimes.
Oh, it's really tough. It's also really lonely for sure. And I noticed how much I miss touching people. Like I was living with my parents until recently, and I would like run up to my dad, then run up to my mom, to my sisters, and everyone. Like my parents were like, what do you want? Money? Is that what you need? I'm like, no, I just really want to touch people.
Yeah, totally. What about your roommates? Can you touch them?
Actually thought about that before. I was in the living room and I was like,
but you're probably early days.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 4 days, but it's been so intense. It's like we've been living together forever. We did hug when we first met because I was like, you know what, you guys chose this, like you guys were okay with me moving in, so if I have it, you have it, we have it.
I love that. We were looking at a place as well. There was actually a German guy and a Swedish girl that we're going to move in with soon. And last time we saw them once, they were super distant and kind of like odd, and it was really awkward for a long time. And I was like, but they're European. They're probably just like really cold in the beginning and then kind of like, warmer. That was my hope, and we decided to move in. And then last time when we saw them, I like hugged the guy because he had this really warm expression in his eyes. And I thought, oh, maybe that's an invitation. I'm like a hugger. And then he got so stiff and he's like, oh no, social distancing. And I couldn't stop myself from like still hugging him. I felt like I was like totally overstepping his boundaries. I felt like a fucking asshole. And it triggered the shit out of me because there was so much like rejection in that, not really reciprocating the hug. And now I'm just scared of moving in there, to be honest. Like it's so weird, but I just really, really long for people that are like warm and open, and and it's an awkward thing, this whole shared apartment, because you live and like you move in with strangers and they're going to see the most intimate times like and sides of yours, and yet it's like obviously you also don't know them, so I understand that they're a distance, but at the same time like you kind of like wanted this, right? So you got to be able to open up that much. I don't know.
Yeah,
so I get that. I think it's cool that you hugged them, and it's lovely that they hugged you back. And yes, it's true, if you fucking live together then you might as well all have it.
but that's so unfair because I remember your hugs, they're super warm. I think they'll get used to it. I think over time they'll be like, where's Sarah?
And I hope so. I like shouldn't have too high of expectations, but it should, right? Because we obviously want to move because we need more space because this is just so small. But the other fact is just that I thought, oh wait, I'm genius. If I live with people that are my friends, I don't have to find friends. You know what I mean? Like I had this idea of a happy family in a shared apartment or shared house, and so I guess there's a lot of expectation, maybe pressure on finding that with that move. But yeah, I'm kind of aware that it might also not be, and I just need to stay neutral. But it's also good exercise to just kind of like be yourself, even though you're constantly rejected. Maybe you don't know yet.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't rejection per se. You know, maybe he was just worried, and he probably didn't mean badly, and neither did you. So
I did text him. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. Also, it's weird with Germans, like, do you talk in English if you're in Australia, or do you talk German, right? And it's like, I kind of, like, a lot of Germans don't want to talk in German anymore. And it's, but I find it so awkward. I mean, a lot of Germans also always just speak German, right? So that's the opposite. But like, they're two camps, I feel like, and there's some people that just really, they like, oh my God, if we breach that, like, you stand in the way of me learning English or something, and they're really, you know, like, you talk to them in German and they talk back in English, and I find it really strange. To be honest, I totally understand if other people are in a room that don't speak the language 100% switch. But if it's just you and me, we both know that we come from the like similar, like speaking like same native language. Like, yeah, so awkward. Have you experienced that?
I mean, actually, I've experienced this quite a lot with my roommate. She's from Ireland and she's practicing her German, and it's weird because I know that in like her language is English, and when she speaks to me in German, sometimes I will speak to her in English and she'll respond in German, like, and then the conversation will just have to go in German. Like, there is this sense of rejection as well. So I totally understand, because you're just like speaking in German, they answer in English. What are you going to do? Answer in German again? Like, they're clearly saying, I don't want this right now. And so I get that. And I've discussed it with her as well. And because I just want her to feel at ease, and knowing that this is her mother tongue. For me, it's also just I'm getting to know the person better. But I also understand that her sentiment could then be, yeah, but German is your mother tongue, so why don't we speak that? So I'm just trying to navigate this without feeling bad if I do start speaking in English and then she responds in German. But I do have that feeling in the back of my mind where I'm like, did I do something wrong right now? So
yeah, some people are quite sensitive to that. I had one like French girl, and I tried to like speak French to her when she didn't understand something in English, and then she was like, no, stop talking in French, tell me in English, I need to learn English, like, you stand in the way, you know. And it was like, I just want to help out. Most friends, right, you just start speaking, like, you just throw in the phrases that like come to your mind first, right? It's just about conveying your message, really. It's not really about grammar or any other.
We both do the same as well. Like, when we talk, sometimes German happens.
Did, right?
Yeah.
I remember that. I always loved that. I was like, oh, wait, it's so cool now. Look, I was on semester abroad. You always English. Like, how cool is that?
Oh, man. Yeah. And it's also so interesting to hear your accent. That's what I was most excited about, like hearing your accent change, obviously. And it totally has. And I'm probably Australian now.
No, for me, I'm like so far off. I'm so far off. When I hear Australians, they still like, what? I'm like, oh my God, guys, I really try hard to like be one of you, but no.
Mathieu also used to live in Australia, and so his accent is hilarious because it's a little bit of Australian, but it's really hard to guess. And then I remember we had this conversation. I tried to call him. He's like, do you want to talk this Arvo? I'm like, sorry, Arvo? Do you mean avocado? And then that's when, you know, he explained, oh, sorry, that's Australian slang for afternoon. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm still trying to integrate here. I find actually like the most interesting thing has been to really get to know the culture. Like, I've been there for a couple of months, you know, like a couple of years ago, and everything was so amazing. Everything was so like, they were so warm and nice, and everybody's like, hi darling, what can I get you, you know, blah blah. It's like they love you so much for you ordering a coffee, and you've never ever experienced that in Austria at all. Like bus drivers say hi, how was your day, and you're like, this is creepy. But so I had that in mind, and I came back, and now living here for a year, I realized there's also a huge different side to Australians and the culture themselves. And I don't want to obviously offend in any way, but I noticed that it can be quite superficial and very much like in your face friendly, and then like gone, not responding. Just like their way of dealing with a conflict is never direct. It's always just in not responding. So they always, yeah, they let you know through just not letting you know, I guess. And that's been quite a struggle for me, right, who likes to know where you stand with somebody, you know. And it's hard because it's like they're so friendly, like, oh my god, this person really likes me, and then at the same time they really don't really care, like, at all. And that's an interesting feature, and that actually makes me like not want to live for like long term.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah, because I think it's important to me to have like realness with somebody in that connection, and it's very much a very individualistic culture and kind of fake to some degree, and yet they're friendly and, you know, they're helpful and stuff, but only in the first level, never to like another. That really changed through actually living here and experiencing it from a completely different point of view.
I get that. Yeah,
How was that in America? Didn't you live there?
I mean, I was a teeny tiny kid when I lived there, but I've worked with Americans, and they're always so nice and always, you know, happy and so upbeat. But something that I really struggled with in a work environment, at least, is there's this really big influence of meritocracy. So this whole thing of like, you can get whatever you want, but first you have to work so hard your hands bleed. Like, that's very metaphorically
that's
speaking.
Interesting. Yeah, never heard of that term. That's their like culture.
Yeah, it was coined by Bourdieu, who was an economist and a sociologist, and a really interesting guy, I think. But yeah, it's the whole idea of the American dream and of, you know, capitalism is this idea of like, you have to work the hardest or your existence is not justified. And that's something I definitely struggled with a lot while working with these people with the people I was working with at the time. Americans are similar in the way that they just they're super kind and they're very, very nice and friendly, etc. But once communication gets hard, that's where they give up, I've noticed.
Yeah. And how do you get in the inner circle in terms of friendships, relationships? Because that's what I find. Another thing is, how do I know this person really cares for me and not just text, like you meet them next day, they're like, hi lovely, hi love, how are you, heart. I'm like, you know, like it's really hard to keep up with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I had a roommate who was American. She was on the podcast on the Rasputin episode, which was really lovely. Living with her was really, really cool because first I was a little quiet. I kept to myself. I was like, no, you know, I don't want to bother her, blah, blah, blah. But then I realized that it was really easy to actually communicate with her. But that definitely took time. And now that she's in the US, obviously communication is difficult, but yeah, I don't know. In the beginning, I was also thinking she's like the nicest person in the world. And she absolutely was. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just that culturally speaking, there was a huge difference. But she's also someone who spent a lot of time in Europe. She also lived in Russia. So I think that helped her gain an idea of who she's dealing with. Because I think most Americans, when they say, I've been to Europe, they don't even know where they were. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think they would have to like really live there. The feedback I got was like, oh my God, you're so direct. All these Europeans, you know, that they were like, when I got fired, he's starting with like two people that hired me, and he's starting with, this is a really hard conversation for us. You've just proven blah, so good that we hired you in the first place. I'm like, so you're gonna fire me now? You know, and he's like, oh, they're so direct, these Europeans, you know. And then he's like, well, you're gonna get paid like for another week because that's your notice, and I'm like, so where do I have to go next week to work? And he's like, and I'm like, oh, so you just, this is it, this is last time you're ever going to see me, right? Like, they didn't convey the actual, you know, I just wanted to like know dates and like what's going to happen next. And it was interesting how they sugarcoat a lot and like talk so much without actually saying like the words.
That's something I've noticed with English people, though. I feel like Americans are very direct in that way. Like, I remember the feedback my boss at the time, who lived in the US, always gave me, was like, say it. You're not saying anything to me right now. And then my next boss was from the UK, and he would just talk constantly, and I loved it. But other people were like, so what you're trying to say, just like give me the, you know, the deal, basically.
Yeah.
And I think I appreciate, like, I'd love a mix of both, where someone doesn't yell at you, but also doesn't talk for 1.5 hours. That would be so nice.
Oh my God, if only that existed, right? You said you kind of can really relate to me being unemployed for so long, and what's been happening for you in that sense?
So, last year in October, I think I mentioned that when I reached out to you. Last year in October, I quit my job. I left the company I was working for, and I needed a lot of time to kind of get better. It's been a lot of trying to do what's good for me, being with my family, and I was like randomly sending out applications and being like, I don't want to do corporate. I want to make films. But then I realized, but to make films, you need the money. I forgot about that. So
fuck yeah. I'm the same, like, I want to work in an NGO as a volunteer. You know what I mean? But that's the only fucking option, you know, like, oh wait, I don't have that social work degree. But I do want to, you know, like, I feel you. It's
So what was that last job where you were fired?
It was an internship that ended. So that's basically it. It was November. And I was similar to what you said. I was feeling so burned out and so stressed because it's been literally nothing but 5 months of constant triggering and constant stress and constant overwhelm. And also my relationship went through a lot, and we broke up and got back together, and I didn't know if I'm going to stay in Australia or what's going to happen next, basically. And then trying to get the partner visa, which is a huge process. So many things happen at once, and we just like got back together. I just applied for the visa and I just ended the job. And I kind of like just wanted to get out of Sydney and just like take a break and get away. So we decided to go for a road trip. But even that process took so long, and like December was approaching, and I was like, what are we going to do in December? What am I going to do with my life? Like, what's going to happen? I'm just not ready yet to reach out again. You know, while I was working, I was feeling very like confident. Oh, my next job is going to be great. My next job this, my next job that. And then the moment it ended, it was like, I'm not going to apply for anything. I just couldn't. And then the fires happened, and it was smoky, and I was like, I've never ever experienced that in my life. Like the bushfire, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, brought so much smoke into the city that you literally couldn't breathe properly. That was like another stressor. And then we decided to kind of flee from the fire. And that was another, you know, like cool month where I went back to the Sunshine Coast, which was also a big thing, to visit this old world where I studied a couple of years ago, and bring my boyfriend and bring Anne-Marie, who was there at the time. So it was a crazy time. It was so cool, but it was also hard, you know, when you have to find place to sleep every single day, and you're like, is there smoke, is there no smoke? And then it was New Year, and then it was middle of January, we came back to Sydney, and from there I like, fuck, now I have to apply. And it was one of the hardest phases as well, because there was just so much resistance to starting a job again. And that's when kind of lots of anxiety came back to like just re-enter the workforce. I think I was so afraid of having to deal with really difficult situations again, and with difficult people, and not being able to deal with them, that I started to like just hate every job. And I literally got offered 2 jobs, and I didn't take it because I had such a bad feeling about it. I was like, yes, I know I need a job. Yes, it would make all the difference in the world. I can't be picky, but I was like, I'll wait, there will be another one, you know. And that was 2-3 months in. Then Corona happened. Then I got a job and they fired me after a week. And here I am now, a month later or so, basically applying, but kind of feeling like it's a waste of my time, even because literally nobody's searching for anybody right now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the story. And by now I'm not picky. I'll take anything. I know that it's so often just about getting up in the morning and having a fucking paycheck at some stage. That would make so much difference, like mentally, because it's so hard to not have any structure and to like have to give yourself structure and to not even be in any, I don't know, I felt so much jealousy for everybody that was studying, still living at home, being in a job and like working from home, all these things. And I also was like mad at myself for never really, like I was never grateful for studying, you know. I was always like, I fucking hate this is horrible, right? Like we were always really like just nagging about it all the time. And now looking back at it, I'm like, this was the most easy time, like the easiest time in my life so far. Like, you know, you have everything provided. What else do you want? Like there's fucking deadlines to anything. You have structure, so much structure. And yes, it's bullshit what you have to learn, but you know, there's money coming in, you have government support, you have like friends naturally because they're around you all the time. Like it's nothing compared to the real world or just like the world that comes after. And I'm just realizing that now.
I feel you. It's definitely during that time where I was out of a job, the first few weeks are bliss, right? But in the back of your mind, you're still like, what the fuck am I doing? How am I going to fix this? Of course, everything's going to be fine, but is it? Is it really? So
is it really? Yeah. Like, is it really? Because there's no proof. It's not like, oh, you have 3 months of summer, blah, and then, you know, your semester's going to start again. And you're like, oh, it's okay if I don't do anything over summer, if I'm not like losing weight or something, because like there's going to be a next like deadline that's going to start again. Like you kind of relax towards that. But here we are in an indefinite open future. Yeah. And it's only on us to fucking do something about it. And that's so much pressure. And I know I sound like a fucking privileged asshole, and I am 100% on that. But like, that's what I struggle with. I'm not sure if I'm going to get a job again. I'm not sure when. And how long is my saving going to last? Like literally 2 months from now. It's like insane, you know?
Same. It's pretty tight right now. But I know, like privilege asshole aside, I still think you know yourself very well, and I totally understand this barrier. It totally makes sense that I think we're just so from childhood, from society, from whatever, it's just we're so used to having to do something or we're useless. And I feel that way as well sometimes, you know, where I'm like, what do I bring to society?
It's like, if you're not doing something, if you're not a student, pregnant, a mother that stays at home, or I don't know what. Oh, and working, obviously. Oh yeah, that's my boyfriend says. Then what are you doing with your life, you know? My partner's always like, why don't you just immerse yourself in like something you really like just study on your own. There's so much out there. You don't need this, you know. And I know he's right. I just can't get myself to do it. I'm very much like, just go sign me up. I'll come there and then I'll deal with it, you know. But I can't like just sit on my own and be like, let's ask Google what he thinks or she thinks about depression or something, and then like dive into it, you know. I just don't have that.
Yeah, but I understand that. I mean, there needs to be this like intrinsic drive, I guess, and sometimes that just isn't there, and we shouldn't feel bad about it. You know, I see so many creators who just like post their content every week and just do their thing and show us how much they hustle and whatever, and then you're at home, I don't know, staring out the window going like, what is this life? But I think that's also fine.
I have this wall in front of my window and we're literally waiting on like the day, like the sunlight to change throughout the day, to be like, oh yeah, I know this pattern of like sunlight against it must be like 4 p.m. now. Oh, now it's crisp and nice. Like literally.
Are you guys allowed to go outside? Yeah, you're allowed to go outside and
Yeah.
everything, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Just,
People are exercising so much in the park. It's insane. Like all the, like that's another thing about this culture. They love the gym, and now that the gyms are closed, everybody is like bringing their thingies into the park, and so much personal trainer that still make money. And I'm like, wow,
yeah.
no words.
Speaking of words, you started this Instagram account called Inwards Out, or was it Inwards Out?
Yeah, it was.
How did you start on just doing that? Because I absolutely love that account.
Thank you. I have like 20 followers. So proud of myself. They're all my friends. Hashtag not famous at all. But how can I say? Basically, I mean, you know me for quite a while, and I've always been like reflecting about why shit happens. Why do I feel this way? Why is she mean to me? Blah. Like I always like reflect a lot about her stuff. I'm super emotional. I'm super sensitive, and that's like a long life journey for me, anyways. And it was really more like I think my partner that kind of pushed me. Was like, wait, you all these insights, you have all this like stuff that you're dealing with, like why are you not putting it outside? You always keep it internally. Like you talk to me about it, but like literally in your head, like, you know, like you don't give it a voice at all, and you should just express that. So I was like, and I felt extremely vulnerable doing it still, even though I'm a person that's extremely easy to like overshare really personal stuff with everybody. It was still really, it was like a huge step. And it's also like, for example, I don't put any pictures of myself, or I like started with my name and my picture, and I'm like, okay, I'll put a fucking flower as my face, and I just name myself Sarah, because I'm still not okay with like some people that follow me on my normal account to like see this kind of stuff, and I'm still like, what will people think about me? Do you think I'm mentally ill? Which I probably am, but I want to like just own it more, you know, or even make it. And it was really just about, I want to put it outside and not keep it inside. And if I can make feel, if I can people, if I can what? If I can make, oh my God, like, if I can make people feel, is that right? If I can make people feel less alone with their stuff through it. You know, if there's only one post where it's like somebody texts me later, dude, I can so relate. I'm like, yes, this is why I want to do it.
Intermission time. Intermission time. I know it's hard to say goodbye, but we'll be back soon with more fun stuff to talk about. 'Cause it's the Not So Whimsical Podcast.